One of the most important parts of the restoration process is the production of the native plants that we're using at the restoration sites. We produce about 100,000 plants per year from about 12 different species: cottonwoods, willows, mesquites, palo verdes. It's just coming up. It's one of the species that we use as a meat story. It's great for habitat and to create more structural diversity and biomass, and it produces a lot of seed that birds love. We want to have diverse options for species to cover the different conditions of different sites. So that's why we have cottonwoods and willows for the wettest areas and mesquites and palo verdes for the driest areas. ¿Qué tal? Buenos días. Van bien rápido. Today, the crew is doing weeding at this plot and also cleaning the furrows for irrigation. Right now, we're in the higher and driest spot of the site. It's like a sand dune. So here, we have mostly palo verdes. These are the one-year-old palo verdes. And then in the lower spot, that's where we have the cottonwoods with higher densities. So we have that mix of trees and habitat types, and I think that and increase the diversity of birds and wildlife that we have here. We started working in this site in about 2012. We started planting in 2014. We have completed 250 acres of restoration. But the goal is to expand to about 400 acres. This place, it looks like desert, but it's actually very rich. The soil here is all river deposit. It's a mix of clay and sand and silt, and that's why we just add water and then the trees grow really fast. In 3 years, this little plant would look like those trees over there. One of the key elements that we do as part of the big restoration vision is science and monitoring. We're capturing birds with mist nets and then banding them and identifying the species, their age, their sex, their condition. All of the guys you see here doing the monitoring, they are from the local community, and they started with us about 15 years ago. 3 different species in a net, so that's pretty good. Yeah, he's doing fine. It's a cool bird to have here in winter. You can see there the crown. We put it in a little bag. We take them to the processing station. ¿Qué tal? Buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Cuántos llevan? 7?
4, 6, 7.
7 birds. This is our monitoring team for the Colorado River Delta.
Ah, 0. Es esa, creo que está.
We're trying to figure out if restoration is working, if wildlife is responding, if habitat is good or not.
I'm looking for the flat right here. Yeah, so the flat shows the body condition in this part.
This time of year, they should be like with a little bit of fat so that they are eating and collecting fat. So that's also an indication of how good a site is. What we're seeing, you know, all of these birds, they are wintering here. They breed in the US and Canada, and they come down to spend the winter here. So right now, we have about 60 species that are already using the site, but as trees get bigger, then we expect that that will increase. So we're tracking that evolution of the site over time. Let's put it over here. We're on our way to a restoration site called Laguna Grande. It's the oldest restoration site in the Delta. It's one of the largest. This site is operated and managed by the Sonoran Institute, one of the partners of this binational coalition of environmental organizations called Raise the River.
Another important element of this new agreement is that it establishes cooperation between the U.S., Mexico, and environmental nonprofit groups.
This map shows a dry year on the Delta region.
This establishes a commitment among all three parties to dedicating water to the river and to restoring habitat in the Delta.
Para implementar
To implement the restoration along the river, they had to do a design according to the depth of the water and salinity. Here what we do is that we are restoring the site with this native vegetation. We also have an environmental education program. We brought close to 7,000 people to the site, around 3,000 people a year.
Celia is a member of the community, and she has been working at the restoration site here for about 9 years.
Para mí es muy importante y para la gente de la comunidad.
She said that ever since she started working here, she clearly understood that there was an imperative to protect these sites, not only for wildlife, but for the benefit of people all around. We think that this is a great opportunity to reconnect people with nature.
Entonces los árboles estaban como en grupos de 3, 4.
Well, he's saying that the actual planting design tries to mimic the natural way in which the cottonwoods and willows are grouped. Sometimes you see 3 and 4 together, and then there's some space. This is part of the team from the Sonoran Institute that make this restoration possible. For me, the work in the Colorado River Delta represents how we can change as a society, how we can change our relationship with nature.
The water we're securing for the Delta is being used in 3 ways. We're restoring flow in the river, we're restoring habitat, and we're providing a river resource for local communities.
Despite challenges in the U.S. and Mexico relationship, it is wonderful that the two countries are working together to try to address these issues. This is a place where there is a lot of progress and collaborations across the border.